Marcus Williams sat in his car outside Riverside Medical Center, taking deep breaths. His chest felt tight again, like someone was pressing down on it with heavy weights. This had been happening for 3 weeks now, and he couldn't ignore it anymore. He was only 42 years old. He taught history at Lincoln High School, coached the debate team, and ran 3 miles every weekend. He shouldn't be feeling this way. He grabbed his phone and looked at the Notes app one more time. He had written down everything: when the chest pain started, how it felt, what he was doing when it happened. He wanted to make sure he didn't forget anything when he talked to the doctor. His wife, Angela, had been worried sick about him. She had practically pushed him out the door that morning, telling him not to come home until he had answers. Marcus locked his car and walked toward the entrance. The medical center was a large brick building with glass doors that slid open automatically. Inside, the waiting room was bright and busy. The walls were painted a soft blue color, and there were magazines on small tables between the chairs. A fish tank bubbled quietly in one corner. Marcus walked up to the reception desk where a young woman with blonde hair smiled at him. "Good morning. How can I help you?" she asked. "I have an appointment at 10:30. Marcus Williams," he said. She typed on her computer and nodded. "Yes, Mr. Williams, I see you here. Please fill out these forms and have a seat. We'll call you shortly." Marcus took the clipboard with the forms and found an empty seat near the window. He filled out the usual information: his address, phone number, insurance details, and medical history. When he got to the part about current symptoms, he wrote carefully: chest pain, shortness of breath, unusual tiredness. He looked around the waiting room while he wrote. There were about 15 other people waiting. An elderly couple sat together holding hands. A young mother was trying to keep her toddler entertained with a picture book. A man in a business suit was typing on his laptop. Marcus noticed he was one of only 2 black patients in the room. The other was an older woman sitting across from him reading a magazine. After he finished the forms, Marcus returned them to the desk and sat back down. He checked his watch. It was 10:25. He pulled out his phone and texted Angela, "I'm here." "Waiting to be called in," she replied immediately. "Good. Make sure you tell them everything. Don't let them rush you." Marcus smiled at her message. Angela always knew what to say. They had been married for 15 years, and she could read him better than anyone. She knew he sometimes had trouble speaking up, especially with doctors. He had a habit of downplaying his problems, not wanting to seem like he was complaining. The minutes passed slowly. Marcus watched the clock on the wall. 10:30 came and went. Then 10:45. He tried to stay calm, reminding himself that doctors' offices always ran late. He picked up a magazine about health and fitness but couldn't concentrate on the words. His chest felt uncomfortable and he kept shifting in his seat. Finally, at 11 o'clock, a nurse in blue scrubs came to the doorway with a clipboard. "Marcus Williams?" He stood up quickly, grabbing his jacket and phone. "That's me." The nurse was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a ponytail. She smiled warmly at him. "Follow me, please." Marcus walked behind her down a long hallway. The floors were shiny and clean, and there were paintings of peaceful landscapes on the walls. They passed several examination rooms before the nurse stopped at room 7. "Right in here," she said, gesturing to the room. "You can have a seat on the table." The examination room was small but neat. There was a padded table covered with white paper, a rolling stool, a sink, and a counter with medical supplies. Posters about heart health and diabetes covered the walls. Marcus sat on the table and the paper crinkled under him. The nurse rolled her stool over and picked up a tablet. "So, Mr. Williams, what brings you in today?" Marcus took a breath. "I've been having chest pains for about 3 weeks. It feels like pressure, like something heavy is sitting on my chest, and I get short of breath really easily. Even just walking up the stairs at school makes me feel like I ran a marathon." The nurse nodded, typing notes on her tablet. Her expression grew more serious. "Have you had any pain in your arms or jaw?" "Sometimes my left arm feels tingly," Marcus admitted. "And are you experiencing any nausea or dizziness?" "A little bit, yeah. Mostly I just feel really tired all the time." The nurse put down the tablet and reached for a blood pressure cuff. "Let me check your vitals." "Roll up your left sleeve, please." Marcus pushed up his sleeve and the nurse wrapped the cuff around his upper arm. She pumped the bulb and the cuff tightened, squeezing his arm. He watched her face as she listened with her stethoscope. Her eyebrows drew together slightly. "Your blood pressure is elevated," she said quietly. 145/95. She unwrapped the cuff and reached for a thermometer and an oxygen monitor. She clipped the small device on his finger and put the thermometer under his tongue. After a moment, she checked the readings. Temperature is normal. Your oxygen level is okay, but a bit lower than I'd like to see. She made more notes on her tablet, and Marcus could see the concern in her eyes. It made his stomach knot with worry. Mr. Williams, these symptoms you're describing are concerning, the nurse said gently. I want you to know that Dr. Brennan will be in shortly to examine you. Try to relax, okay? Marcus nodded, but relaxing felt impossible. The nurse's worried expression had confirmed what he already suspected deep down. Something was really wrong. Do you need anything while you wait? Some water? She asked. No, thank you. I'm okay. The nurse gave him one more reassuring smile and left the room, closing the door softly behind her. Marcus sat alone on the examination table, the paper crinkling every time he moved. He looked at his phone again. Another text from Angela. What did they say? He typed back. Still waiting for the doctor. Nurse took my blood pressure. It's high. The 3 dots appeared immediately, showing Angela was typing. Then her message came through. I'm praying for you. Love you? Love you too, he replied. Marcus set his phone down and looked at the posters on the wall. One showed a diagram of the human heart with all its chambers and vessels labeled. Another listed warning signs of a heart attack. He read through them. Chest pain, shortness of breath, pain in the arm or jaw, nausea, unusual fatigue. He had most of those symptoms. His heart started beating faster. He pulled out his phone again and looked at his notes. He wanted to make sure he told the doctor everything clearly. He didn't want to leave anything out. This was too important. Marcus waited, watching the clock on the wall tick forward. 5 minutes passed. Then 10, then 15. He could hear voices in the hallway, footsteps passing by his door. Finally, after what felt like forever, he heard voices right outside his room. The door handle turned and Marcus straightened up, ready to finally get some answers. Dr. Richard Brennan walked into the examination room with a young woman following behind him. He was a tall man in his late 50s with gray hair and glasses. He wore a white coat over a blue shirt and tie. He didn't look at Marcus right away. Instead, he was looking down at a tablet, scrolling through something with his finger. The young woman who came in with him looked nervous. She had dark hair pulled back in a bun and wore a white coat that looked too big for her. She stood near the door holding a notebook close to her chest. Marcus wondered if she was a student or a new doctor learning from Dr. Brennan. Mr. Williams, Dr. Brennan said, still not looking up from his tablet. His voice was flat without any warmth in it. He finally glanced at Marcus for just a second before looking back at the screen. Says here you're having chest pain. Yes, doctor. For about 3 weeks now, Marcus began. He sat up straighter, trying to make eye contact. It feels like there's pressure on my chest and... How much do you weigh? Dr. Brennan interrupted, looking at Marcus now. His eyes moved up and down, studying Marcus's body in a way that made him feel uncomfortable. About 200 pounds, Marcus answered. Dr. Brennan made a sound in his throat, something between a laugh and a snort. And how tall are you? 6 feet. The doctor typed something on his tablet, shaking his head slightly. Your BMI is in the overweight category. That's probably your problem right there. Marcus felt his face get warm. But doctor, I exercise regularly. I run 3 miles. Sure you do, Dr. Brennan said, cutting him off again. There was something mean in the way he said it, like he didn't believe Marcus at all. Look, Mr. Williams, I see this kind of thing all the time. People come in here with chest pain, and 9 times out of 10 it's because they're not taking care of themselves. The young woman by the door shifted on her feet. Marcus saw her eyes widen and she looked down at her notebook quickly. Marcus tried again, speaking more firmly. Doctor, I'm really concerned. The pain is getting worse. Sometimes my left arm feels tingly, and I get out of breath just walking upstairs. That's not normal for me. Dr. Brennan sighed loudly, like Marcus was bothering him. He set the tablet down on the counter and crossed his arms. Let me guess. You also want pain medication, right? That's usually how this goes. Marcus felt like he'd been slapped. What? No, I don't want pain medication. I want to know what's wrong with me. Uh-huh. Dr. Brennan picked up his stethoscope and walked over to Marcus. Take a deep breath. Marcus breathed in while the doctor pressed the stethoscope against his chest through his shirt. The metal was cold. Dr. Brennan moved it to a few different spots. Barely taking 10 seconds total. Sounds fine, he said, pulling the stethoscope out of his ears and draping it around his neck. But what about my symptoms? Marcus asked. His heart was pounding now, partly from anxiety and partly from frustration. The nurse said my blood pressure was high. Of course it's high. You're stressed and you're overweight, Dr. Brennan said. He walked back to the counter and picked up his tablet again. You want my advice? Lose some weight. Cut out the fast food. Actually go to the gym instead of just talking about it. That'll solve most of your problems. The way he said it made Marcus's stomach turn. There was something in the doctor's tone, in the way he looked at Marcus, that felt wrong. It felt personal. It felt like Dr. Brennan had decided who Marcus was and what his problem was before even really examining him. Doctor, I eat healthy foods. My wife cooks at home almost every night. We don't eat fast food, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice calm. And I do exercise. I'm telling you the truth. Something is really wrong. I can feel it, Dr. Brennan laughed. Actually laughed. It was a short, sharp sound that had no humor in it. Right, and I'm sure you'll tell me you don't smoke or drink either. I don't smoke. I have maybe one beer on weekends, Marcus said. He felt his hands starting to shake. He was angry now, really angry, but he was also scared. What if something was seriously wrong and this doctor wouldn't listen? Look, Dr. Brennan said, turning to face Marcus fully. His face had an expression that Marcus couldn't quite read, but it made him uncomfortable. I've been a doctor for 30 years. I know what I'm looking at. You're a middle-aged man who's out of shape and probably under a lot of stress. Maybe you have sleep apnea. Maybe you eat more than you think you do, but you're not having a heart attack if that's what you're worried about. How do you know? You barely examined me, Marcus said. He heard his voice getting louder, but he couldn't help it. Because I'm a trained medical professional and you're not, Dr. Brennan said coldly. He started typing on his tablet. I'm going to note in your chart that you need to lose weight, exercise more, and maybe see a therapist about stress management. If the pain continues after you make some lifestyle changes, come back in 6 months. 6 months. Marcus felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. 6 months of feeling like this? 6 months of worrying that something was terribly wrong. But Mr. Williams, Dr. Brennan said, his voice getting sharper. I have other patients waiting. Patients with real problems. You're wasting my time with this. Go home, lose weight. Stop looking for pills. That's my diagnosis. The words hit Marcus like a punch. Looking for pills? He repeated. I never asked you for pills. I asked you to help me figure out what's wrong. Dr. Brennan's expression changed into something ugly. His lips pressed into a thin line. I know your type. You come in here, you complain about vague symptoms, and you expect me to just hand over whatever you want. Well, that's not how it works in my office. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. His type? What did that mean? But deep down he knew. He knew exactly what Dr. Brennan meant, and it made him feel sick. The young woman by the door looked like she wanted to disappear. Her face had gone pale, and she was gripping her notebook so hard her knuckles were white. She looked at Marcus with something in her eyes. Was it pity? Sympathy? Horror at what she was witnessing? Marcus slid off the examination table. He stood up, and even though he was tall, he felt small in that moment. He felt dismissed, disrespected, and worst of all, unheard. So you're not going to do any tests? Marcus asked one last try. No blood work? No EKG, nothing. Dr. Brennan was already walking toward the door. Tests cost money. Insurance companies don't appreciate doctors who order unnecessary tests. And trust me, in your case, they'd be unnecessary. The nurse will give you a printout with some diet and exercise suggestions on your way out. He opened the door, clearly expecting Marcus to leave. The young woman quickly stepped aside. Marcus picked up his jacket and his phone. His hands were shaking and he felt tears burning behind his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of this man. Thank you for your time, doctor, Marcus said quietly. He couldn't bring himself to say anything else. If he started talking about how he really felt, he might say something he'd regret. Dr. Brennan didn't respond. He just walked out, already looking at his tablet again, moving on to the next patient. The young woman lingered for just a moment. She looked at Marcus and their eyes met. He saw something there, concern, maybe even guilt. Then she hurried after Dr. Brennan, her shoes clicking on the tile floor. Marcus stood alone in the examination room. The posters about heart health stared at him from the walls. The one listing heart attack symptoms seemed to mock him. He had those symptoms. He knew he did. But the doctor didn't care. He walked slowly out of the room and down the hallway. His chest still hurt. His left arm still felt tingly. He still felt short of breath. Nothing had changed except now he felt something else too. Humiliation, anger, and a deep, frightening certainty that he had just been treated badly because of the color of his skin. At the reception desk, the blonde woman handed him a piece of paper. "Here's your discharge information, Mr. Williams. Have a good day." Marcus took the paper without looking at it and walked toward the exit. As the automatic doors opened and he stepped outside into the cool morning air, he pulled out his phone. His hands were still shaking as he tried to type a message to Angela. How was he going to tell her what just happened? Marcus stood outside the medical center, trying to catch his breath. The fresh air felt good on his face, but his chest still hurt. He leaned against a pillar near the entrance and pulled out his phone to text Angela. His fingers hovered over the screen. What should he say? How could he explain what just happened? Before he could type anything, he heard a voice behind him. "Mr. Williams? Excuse me, Mr. Williams?" He turned around. It was the young woman who had been in the examination room with Dr. Brennan. She was walking quickly toward him, looking over her shoulder like she was worried someone might see her. Her face was flushed and she was breathing fast. "Yes?" Marcus said, confused. She reached him and stopped, catching her breath. Up close, Marcus could see she was young, probably in her 20s. Her name tag read, Sarah Chen, medical student. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry about what just happened in there." Marcus didn't know what to say. He just looked at her. "What Dr. Brennan did was wrong," Sarah continued. She glanced back at the entrance again. "The way he treated you. The things he said, not taking your symptoms seriously, it was all wrong. Completely wrong." Marcus felt the anger rise up in him again. "Then why didn't you say something?" "You were right there." Sarah's face crumpled. "I know, I should have. I'm just a student and he's one of the senior doctors here and I—" She stopped and took a breath. "That's not an excuse. I should have spoken up. But I can do something now." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a business card. She pressed it into Marcus's hand. "Dr. Patricia Okonkwo. She's a cardiologist here in this same building, just 2 floors down. Please, Mr. Williams, go see her right now, today. Your symptoms sound serious, really serious." Marcus looked at the card. The name was printed in dark blue letters with a phone number and office location. "A cardiologist?" he said. "Yes, a heart doctor," Sarah said. She was speaking fast now, urgently. "I've been in medical school for 2 years, and I've studied cardiology. What you described in there, the chest pressure, the arm tingling, the shortness of breath, the fatigue, those are classic signs of heart problems. They need to be checked out properly. With tests, real tests." Marcus felt fear grip his heart. "You think it's my heart?" "I think it could be, and I think you need someone to take it seriously," Sarah said. "Dr. Okonkwo is really good. She's kind and thorough. She'll actually listen to you. Please promise me you'll go see her. Right now. Don't wait." Marcus looked at the card again, then back at Sarah. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Because what I saw in there was wrong. Dr. Brennan judged you before he even examined you. He made assumptions based on nothing but his own prejudice. That's not medicine. That's not what we're supposed to do. And if something happens to you because he didn't do his job—" She wiped her eyes quickly. "I couldn't live with myself." Marcus felt something shift inside him. This young woman, who he didn't even know, cared more about his health in 5 minutes than Dr. Brennan had in the entire appointment. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Really, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Just go see Dr. Okonkwo," Sarah said. "Her office is in room 214. Tell the receptionist it's urgent. Tell them you're having chest pain and you need to be seen today." Marcus nodded. "I will." "Good." Sarah looked over her shoulder again. "I have to go back before anyone notices I'm gone. But Mr. Williams, I'm going to report what happened. What Dr. Brennan did and said. It might not do anything because I'm just a student, but I have to try." "Won't that get you in trouble?" Marcus asked. Sarah straightened her shoulders. "Maybe, but it's the right thing to do. We take an oath to do no harm. Dr. Brennan broke that oath today." She turned and walked quickly back toward the entrance. Marcus watched her disappear through the automatic doors. Then he looked down at the business card in his hand. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, cardiologist. He thought about just going home. He was tired, emotionally drained, and part of him wanted to forget this whole awful morning. But Angela's face appeared in his mind. And his students at school. His debate team that was getting ready for the state championship. He had people who counted on him. people who needed him. And deep down, under all the hurt and anger from Dr. Brennan's treatment, Marcus knew something was wrong with his body. He could feel it. He put the card in his pocket and walked back into the medical center. This time, instead of going to the first floor, he went to the elevator and pressed the button for the second floor. The elevator was empty. Marcus watched the numbers light up as he went up. When the doors opened on the second floor, he stepped out into a different hallway. This one looked almost the same as the first floor. Same clean floors, same landscape paintings, but it felt different somehow. Maybe because he knew he was going to see a doctor who might actually listen. He followed the room numbers until he found 214. The door had a small sign that read, Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, Cardiology. Marcus took a deep breath and went inside. The waiting room was smaller than the one downstairs. There were only 6 chairs and 3 of them were occupied. A woman sat at the reception desk typing on a computer. She looked up when Marcus walked in and smiled. Good morning. Do you have an appointment? No, I don't, Marcus said. He walked up to the desk feeling nervous. But a medical student told me to come here. She said it was urgent. I'm having chest pain. The receptionist's smile faded into concern. Chest pain? How long have you been having it? 3 weeks. And this morning I saw another doctor downstairs, but Marcus didn't know how to explain what happened without sounding angry. He didn't think it was serious. But the medical student who was with him thought I should get a second opinion. She gave me Dr. Okonkwo's card. The receptionist studied his face. And you're having chest pain right now? Yes, it's been constant for days. She picked up the phone immediately. Let me talk to the doctor. Have a seat for just a moment. Marcus sat down in one of the empty chairs. His heart was pounding. He could hear the receptionist speaking quietly on the phone, though he couldn't make out the words. After about a minute, she hung up and looked at him. Dr. Okonkwo can see you right now. This is your lucky day. She just had a cancellation. Can you fill out these forms quickly? She handed him a clipboard with forms attached. Marcus took it and started filling it out as fast as he could. His hands were still shaking a little. When he got to the part about medical history and current symptoms, he wrote everything down carefully just like he had before. But this time he added a note. Already seen by Dr. Brennan this morning. He said it was nothing. He returned the forms to the receptionist. She glanced at them and then got up. Follow me, please. She led him down a short hallway to an examination room. This one was similar to the one downstairs, but it had more equipment. There was a large machine next to the table that Marcus thought might be for heart tests. The doctor will be right in, the receptionist said kindly. Just have a seat. Marcus sat on the examination table. The paper crinkled under him just like before, but this time felt different. This time there was hope. He didn't have to wait long. After just a few minutes, the door opened and a woman walked in. She was tall and elegant with dark skin and her hair in neat braids. She wore a white coat and had a stethoscope around her neck. Her eyes were warm and intelligent. Mr. Williams, I'm Dr. Okonkwo, she said, extending her hand. Marcus shook her hand. Her grip was firm and confident. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment, Marcus said. Of course. When someone comes in with chest pain, we take it seriously, Dr. Okonkwo said. She pulled up a stool and sat down so she was at eye level with Marcus. Now tell me everything. Start from the beginning. When did this start, and what does it feel like? Marcus took a breath and began to talk. And this time something remarkable happened. Dr. Okonkwo listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't look at her phone or a tablet. She looked right at Marcus and listened to every word. She nodded. She asked questions. She wrote notes. She took her time. When Marcus told her about seeing Dr. Brennan that morning, her expression darkened. But she didn't say anything about it. She just kept listening. You did the right thing coming here, she said when Marcus finished. Your symptoms concern me. We need to run some tests right away. What kind of tests? Marcus asked. I want to start with an EKG. That's a test that measures your heart's electrical activity. Depending on what that shows, we might need to do more. Is that okay with you? Marcus nodded, feeling relief wash over him. Finally, someone was taking him seriously. It's more than okay, he said. It's exactly what I needed. Dr. Okonkwo stood up and walked to the counter. She pulled out several sticky pads with wires attached to them. I'm going to place these electrodes on your chest. They'll measure your heart's electrical activity. It doesn't hurt at all. Marcus unbuttoned his shirt and Dr. Okonkwo carefully placed the electrodes on his chest in specific spots. She was gentle and professional, explaining what she was doing at each step. Then she turned on the machine next to the examination table. It started making soft beeping sounds. "Just relax and breathe normally," she said. "This will only take a few minutes." Marcus lay back on the table and tried to relax. The machine made whirring sounds as paper began to print out from one side. He watched Dr. Okonkwo's face as she looked at the paper. Her expression was calm at first, but then her eyes narrowed slightly. She leaned closer to the printout, studying it carefully. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "Is something wrong?" Dr. Okonkwo didn't answer right away. She pulled more paper from the machine, examining the lines and patterns. Finally, she looked up at Marcus and her face was serious. "Mr. Williams, your EKG shows some concerning changes. There are signs that your heart isn't getting enough blood flow. This could indicate coronary artery disease, and what does that mean?" Marcus asked. His mouth suddenly felt dry. "It means the arteries that supply blood to your heart muscle might be blocked or narrowed," Dr. Okonkwo explained. She spoke clearly but kindly. "When your heart doesn't get enough blood, it causes the chest pain you've been feeling." Marcus felt fear wash over him like cold water. "Is it serious?" "It can be very serious, yes," Dr. Okonkwo said honestly. "But the good news is that we've caught it and we can treat it. I need to do more tests to see exactly what we're dealing with. I want to admit you to the hospital right now." "The hospital? Right now?" Marcus sat up quickly. "But I have work tomorrow. I have classes to teach and—" "Mr. Williams," Dr. Okonkwo interrupted gently but firmly. "I understand you have responsibilities, but your heart is not getting the blood it needs. If we don't address this immediately, you could have a heart attack. A serious one that could kill you." The words hung in the air. "Could kill you?" Marcus felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. "I need to call my wife," he said quietly. "Of course. But first let me check a few more things." Dr. Okonkwo took his blood pressure again. She frowned at the reading. Then she listened to his heart with her stethoscope, moving it to different spots on his chest and back. She checked his pulse in his wrists and his ankles. "Your blood pressure is quite high and I can hear some concerning sounds," she said. "Mr. Williams, I'm going to be very direct with you because you need to understand how serious this is. Based on what I'm seeing and hearing, I believe you have significant blockages in your coronary arteries. You are at very high risk for a major heart attack. This could happen today, tomorrow, or next week. We can't predict exactly when, but we know the risk is there." Marcus pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He called Angela. She answered on the first ring. "Marcus, what did the doctor say?" "Angela, I need you to stay calm," Marcus said, trying to keep his own voice steady. "I'm at the hospital. They found something wrong with my heart. They want to admit me right now." There was silence on the other end. Then Angela's voice, tight with fear. "What do you mean? What's wrong with your heart?" "The doctor thinks my arteries are blocked. She says I could have a heart attack." Saying the words out loud made them feel more real, more terrifying. "Oh my God. Oh my God, Marcus." Angela's voice cracked. "Which hospital?" "I'm coming right now. I'm still at Riverside Medical Center. The doctor is going to take me upstairs to the cardiac unit. I'll be there in 20 minutes, less. I'm leaving right now." He could hear her grabbing her keys, her footsteps moving fast. "Marcus, I love you. You're going to be okay. You hear me? You're going to be okay." "I love you too," Marcus said. His voice broke a little. "Drive safe." He hung up and looked at Dr. Okonkwo. "What happens now?" "I'm going to call the cardiac unit and have them prepare a room for you. We'll take you upstairs, get you settled, and then we'll do a cardiac catheterization. That's a procedure where we thread a small tube through a blood vessel, usually in your wrist or groin, up to your heart. We inject dye and take X-ray pictures. This will show us exactly where the blockages are and how severe they are. And then what? Depending on what we find, we might be able to open the blocked arteries right then and there using a balloon and placing stents, tiny metal tubes that keep the artery open. Or you might need bypass surgery. We won't know until we see the images." Marcus nodded, trying to process everything. His mind was racing. "Dr. Okonkwo, I need to ask you something." "Of course." "The doctor I saw this morning, Dr. Brennan, he didn't do any of these tests. He just told me to lose weight and go home. If I had listened to him, if I had just gone home—" Dr. Okonkwo's jaw tightened. "Let's focus on the present right now. You're here. We found the problem. That's what matters." But Marcus needed to say it. I could have died. If that medical student hadn't given me your card, if I had just gone home like Dr. Brennan told me to, I could have died. Dr. Okonkwo sat down on the stool again. She looked at Marcus directly, her eyes full of compassion and something else. Anger, maybe, or sadness. Yes, she said simply. You could have. And I'm very sorry that you didn't receive proper care when you first came in. But you made the choice to seek a second opinion. You advocated for yourself, and now we're going to take care of you. A nurse came in then, a young man with red hair and a friendly smile. Dr. Okonkwo? The cardiac unit is ready for Mr. Williams. Thank you, James. Dr. Okonkwo stood up. Mr. Williams, James is going to take you upstairs. I'll be up shortly to check on you. The cardiologist on call will perform the catheterization. His name is Dr. Martinez, and he's excellent. Marcus stood up slowly, buttoning his shirt. The electrodes were still stuck to his chest under his clothes. Everything felt surreal, like it was happening to someone else. James brought in a wheelchair. Hospital policy, he said with an apologetic smile. Everyone gets a ride. Marcus sat down in the wheelchair. As James started to push him toward the door, Dr. Okonkwo touched his shoulder. Mr. Williams, you're going to be all right. We caught this in time. Thank you, Marcus said. Thank you for listening to me. For believing me. Dr. Okonkwo's expression was sad and knowing. Every patient deserves to be heard. That's not something you should have to thank me for. That should be standard. As James wheeled Marcus down the hallway toward the elevator, Marcus thought about the contrast between the two doctors. Dr. Brennan, who had looked at him and seen assumptions and stereotypes, who had dismissed his pain without real examination, and Dr. Okonkwo, who had looked at him and seen a patient, a person, someone whose symptoms mattered. The elevator took them up to the 4th floor. The cardiac unit was quieter than the rest of the hospital. The lights were softer and the nurses spoke in gentle voices. James wheeled Marcus to a private room with a window overlooking the parking lot. Here we are, James said. Let me help you get settled. He helped Marcus change into a hospital gown and get into the bed. The bed was surprisingly comfortable. A nurse came in to check his vital signs again and put an IV in his arm. Everyone who came in introduced themselves and explained what they were doing. Everyone treated him with kindness and respect. Marcus lay in the hospital bed, waiting for Angela to arrive, waiting for the next test, waiting to find out just how close he had come to disaster. His chest still hurt. His arms still tingled, but now at least people were taking it seriously. Now someone was trying to help him. He thought about Dr. Brennan again and anger flared up inside him. How many other patients had the doctor dismissed? How many other people had gone home thinking they were fine when they weren't? How many hadn't been lucky enough to have a medical student speak up for them? A few minutes later, Angela burst through the door. Her eyes were red and tears were streaming down her face. She rushed to the bed and grabbed Marcus's hand. I'm here, she said. I'm here, baby. You're going to be okay. Marcus squeezed her hand. I'm scared, Angela. I know I am too. But we're going to get through this. She wiped her eyes and looked around the room. What did the doctor say exactly? Marcus told her everything. About Dr. Okonkwo, about the EKG, about the blockages in his arteries. Angela listened, holding his hand tight the whole time. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Marcus, what about that first doctor? The one who sent you away? What about him? We need to report him. What he did was wrong. Really wrong. Before Marcus could respond, there was a knock on the door. Dr. Okonkwo came in, followed by another doctor in scrubs. Mr. Williams, this is Dr. Martinez, Dr. Okonkwo said. He'll be performing your cardiac catheterization. Dr. Martinez was a man in his 40s with kind eyes and a calm presence. He shook Marcus's hand and then Angela's. Hello, I've reviewed your EKG and your symptoms. We're going to take good care of you. I want to explain the procedure so you know what to expect. He spent 10 minutes going over everything in detail. He explained how they would numb his wrist, thread a thin tube through his artery up to his heart, inject dye and take pictures. He explained the risks, though he said they were small. He explained that if they found blockages, they might fix them right away with stents. Do you have any questions? Dr. Martinez asked when he finished. Marcus had 100 questions, but one was most important. How long will this take? About an hour, maybe less. We'll have you back here before you know it. Angela squeezed Marcus's hand. I'll be right here waiting. Two nurses came in to prepare Marcus for the procedure. Dr. Okonkwo stepped out into the hallway with Angela while they got Marcus ready. In the hallway, Dr. Okonkwo's expression changed. She looked serious and troubled. "Mrs. Williams, may I speak with you for a moment?" "Of course. Is Marcus going to be okay?" "We're going to do everything we can for him. But I need to ask you something. Your husband mentioned he saw another doctor this morning. Dr. Brennan, can you tell me what happened there?" Angela felt her anger rise up again. That doctor didn't examine Marcus properly. He took one look at him and decided Marcus was just overweight and looking for drugs. He didn't do any tests. He told Marcus to go home and lose weight. My husband could have died if he'd listened to that man. Dr. Okonkwo nodded slowly. "I suspected as much. Mrs. Williams, I want to ask your permission to look into this. What happened to your husband this morning was medical negligence, possibly worse. But I need your and your husband's permission to file a formal complaint." "Yes," Angela said immediately. "Yes, please do whatever you need to do. Other people shouldn't go through what Marcus went through. I agree completely. I'll need to get a statement from your husband after his procedure, but I wanted to talk to you first." Dr. Okonkwo paused. "I'm going to be honest with you. Dr. Brennan has been at this hospital for a long time. He has seniority. This won't be easy." "I don't care if it's easy," Angela said firmly. "It's right." Dr. Okonkwo smiled slightly. "I can see where your husband gets his strength. I'll start the paperwork. For now, let's focus on getting Marcus through this procedure." The nurses came out and told Angela they were taking Marcus to the catheterization lab. She gave Marcus a quick kiss. "I love you. I'll see you soon," she said. "Love you too," Marcus replied. His voice was quiet, nervous. They wheeled him away and Angela was left alone in the hospital room. She sat in the chair by the window and pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking as she called her sister, her mother, her pastor. She needed her family to know. She needed people to pray. While Marcus was in the procedure, Dr. Okonkwo went back to her office. She sat at her computer and opened Marcus's medical file. She also pulled up the hospital's internal system and found Dr. Brennan's notes from that morning. What she read made her angry. Dr. Brennan had written barely 3 sentences. Patient complains of chest pain, likely due to obesity and sedentary lifestyle. Advised weight loss and exercise. No further treatment indicated. 3 sentences. For a man with multiple cardiac risk factors and classic heart attack symptoms. 3 sentences that could have killed him. Dr. Okonkwo picked up her phone and called the hospital's chief medical officer. She got his voicemail. She left a message explaining the situation and saying she needed to speak with him urgently about a serious case of medical negligence. Then she started writing. She documented everything: Marcus's symptoms, the EKG findings, the clear evidence of coronary artery disease, and the complete lack of appropriate care from Dr. Brennan. She wrote carefully and precisely, making sure every medical fact was clear. While she was writing, there was a knock on her door. "Come in," she called. The door opened and Sarah Chen stood there. The medical student looked nervous but determined. "Dr. Okonkwo, do you have a minute?" "Of course. Come in." Dr. Okonkwo gestured to the chair across from her desk. "You're Dr. Brennan's student, aren't you?" Sarah sat down. "Yes, I was with him this morning when he saw Marcus Williams. I was the one who gave Mr. Williams your card and told him to come see you." "You may have saved his life," Dr. Okonkwo said simply. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I should have said something in the room. I should have spoken up when Dr. Brennan was treating him that way. You're a student. Speaking up to an attending physician takes tremendous courage, but you did speak up in your own way. You helped Mr. Williams find proper care." "That's not enough," Sarah said. "Dr. Okonkwo, I need to file a formal report about what I witnessed. I've been thinking about it all day. I can't sleep at night knowing I saw something so wrong and didn't report it officially." Dr. Okonkwo leaned forward. "Tell me exactly what you saw." Sarah took a deep breath and began. She described everything: how Dr. Brennan barely examined Marcus, how he interrupted him constantly, how he made assumptions about Marcus being lazy and drug-seeking. She described the mocking tone, the dismissive attitude, the refusal to order any tests. "He called Mr. Williams your type," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "He said he knew your type and that Mr. Williams was wasting his time." The racist implication was clear. It made me sick to my stomach. Dr. Okonkwo typed notes as Sarah spoke. When the student finished, Dr. Okonkwo said, "Sarah, what you're describing is not just poor medical care. It's discrimination, and it put a patient's life in danger. Are you prepared for what might happen when you file this report? Dr. Brennan might retaliate. He might try to damage your career before it even starts." Sarah straightened her shoulders. "I know, but I went to medical school to help people. If I stay silent about this, I'm not helping anyone. I'm just protecting myself, and that's not the kind of doctor I want to be." Dr. Okonkwo felt a wave of respect for this young woman. "All right, let's do this properly. I'll help you file the report, and I'll make sure you have protection from retaliation." Together, they spent the next hour documenting everything. Dr. Okonkwo called the hospital's patient safety department and the medical board. She explained that she had a witness to serious medical negligence and discrimination. While they were working, Dr. Okonkwo's phone rang. It was Dr. Martinez. "The procedure is done," he said. "You need to see these images." Dr. Okonkwo put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. "What did you find?" "Severe coronary artery disease. 3 major blockages. One was 90% occluded. I placed 2 stents and he'll need another procedure for the 3rd blockage next week." "Dr. Okonkwo, this patient was a ticking time bomb. He could have dropped dead at any moment." Sarah put her hand over her mouth. Dr. Okonkwo closed her eyes briefly. "But he's stable now?" "Yes, the stents are in place. Blood flow is restored. He's going to be fine." "But if he had waited even another week?" Dr. Martinez didn't finish the sentence. "He didn't need to." "Thank you for taking such good care of him," Dr. Okonkwo said. After she hung up, she looked at Sarah. "Do you understand what this means? Dr. Brennan sent a man home who was hours or days away from a massive, possibly fatal heart attack. We have to stop him," Sarah said. "Who knows how many other patients he's treated this way." Dr. Okonkwo picked up her phone again. This time she called the state medical licensing board directly. She explained the situation to the investigator who answered. She explained that she had documentation, a witness and clear evidence of negligence that nearly resulted in a patient's death. "We'll open an investigation immediately," the investigator said. "Please send us all your documentation." While Dr. Okonkwo was on the phone, Sarah pulled out her own phone. She opened her social media and started typing. She didn't mention Marcus's name or Dr. Brennan's name yet, but she wrote about what she had witnessed. She wrote about the importance of speaking up against discrimination in medicine. She wrote about how implicit bias can literally kill people. She posted it, and within minutes, her phone started buzzing with responses. Other medical students shared their own stories. Nurses shared stories. Even other doctors began commenting, saying they had seen concerning behavior from certain physicians but hadn't known how to report it. The post started spreading. By the end of the day, thousands of people had seen it. Local news reporters started reaching out to Sarah, asking for more information. Back in Marcus's hospital room, he was being wheeled back from the procedure. He was groggy from the sedation, but alive. Angela grabbed his hand the moment he was back in bed. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Tired," Marcus mumbled. "But okay." Dr. Martinez came in to explain the results. He showed them the images from the catheterization on a tablet. Angela gasped when she saw the blockages. This one, Dr. Martinez pointed to an almost completely blocked artery, was 90% closed. "Your heart muscle was barely getting any blood through here." Marcus stared at the image. He had been walking around, going to work, living his life, with an artery that was almost completely blocked. One wrong move, one moment of stress, and his heart could have stopped. "The doctor this morning told me I was fine," Marcus said quietly. "He told me to go home." Dr. Martinez's expression darkened. That doctor was wrong. Dangerously wrong. Later that evening, after Marcus had rested and the sedation had worn off, Dr. Okonkwo came back to his room. She sat down and asked if he felt well enough to talk. "I want to file a formal complaint against Dr. Brennan," she said, "with your permission. Sarah Chen, the medical student, is also filing a report about what she witnessed. But we need your statement too." Marcus looked at Angela. She nodded encouragingly. "Yes," Marcus said. "I want to file a complaint. What he did was wrong, not just to me, but probably to other patients too." "I think you're right," Dr. Okonkwo said sadly. "The medical board is opening an investigation. They're going to look at all of Dr. Brennan's recent cases." 3 days passed. Marcus was still in the hospital, recovering from his procedure and preparing for the second one he would need next week. His room had become a revolving door of visitors. Angela was there constantly. Their children came after school, friends from church stopped by, and his students even made him cards. But something else was happening outside his hospital room. Something bigger than any of them had expected. Sarah Chen's social media post had gone viral. It had been shared thousands of times. Local news stations picked up the story. By the second day, reporters were waiting outside the hospital, wanting to interview Marcus and Sarah. The hospital's public relations department was in crisis mode. The state medical licensing board moved faster than anyone anticipated. They assigned 3 investigators to Dr. Brennan's case. They pulled his files from the past 5 years. What they found was disturbing. On the morning of the 3rd day, Dr. Okonkwo came to Marcus's room with news. She looked tired but satisfied. The medical board finished their initial investigation, she said. They found 17 cases in the last 3 years where Dr. Brennan provided inadequate care to patients of color. 17 documented cases where he either dismissed symptoms, refused to order appropriate tests, or provided substandard treatment. Marcus felt sick. 17 people? At least. Those are just the ones they could prove from medical records. There may be more who never filed complaints. Dr. Okonkwo sat down heavily in the chair by Marcus's bed. Several of those patients had serious conditions that went undiagnosed. One woman had cancer that wasn't caught until it had spread. One man had a stroke 2 days after Dr. Brennan sent him home saying his symptoms were all in his head. Angela, who was sitting on the other side of Marcus's bed, spoke up. What's going to happen to him? The medical board held an emergency hearing this morning. I testified. Sarah testified. Several other staff members testified about behavior they had witnessed, and 3 former patients testified. Dr. Okonkwo looked directly at Marcus. The board voted unanimously to immediately suspend Dr. Brennan's medical license. Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Suspended? As of this morning, he can no longer practice medicine while they conduct a full investigation. And based on what they've found so far, it's very likely his license will be permanently revoked. Angela started crying. Good. He shouldn't be allowed to hurt anyone else. Dr. Okonkwo nodded. The hospital has also terminated his employment. He's been removed from the premises. Security escorted him out this morning. Marcus tried to process this. 3 days ago, Dr. Brennan had been a respected doctor with 30 years of experience. Now his career was over. Part of Marcus felt guilty for feeling satisfaction about that. But a bigger part of him thought about those 17 other patients. How many of them had gone home feeling the same shame and dismissal he had felt? How many had been too scared or too tired to seek a second opinion? There's more, Dr. Okonkwo said. The hospital administration wants to meet with you. They want to apologize formally and discuss changes they're going to implement to make sure this never happens again. What kind of changes? Marcus asked. Better oversight of physician conduct. Mandatory training on implicit bias for all medical staff. A new system for patients to report concerns about their care without fear of retaliation. And they want to establish a patient advocacy board to review complaints. Dr. Okonkwo smiled slightly. Your case has become a catalyst for real change. Later that afternoon, the hospital's chief medical officer came to Marcus's room. He was a tall man with silver hair named Dr. Robert Chen, Sarah's father, as it turned out. He had tears in his eyes when he shook Marcus's hand. Mr. Williams, I cannot tell you how sorry I am for what happened to you in this hospital. What Dr. Brennan did was inexcusable. As the chief medical officer, I take full responsibility for not catching his pattern of behavior earlier. His voice was thick with emotion. My own daughter had to risk her career to do the right thing. That tells me we failed as an institution to create an environment where staff felt safe reporting misconduct. Marcus didn't know what to say. He hadn't expected this level of accountability. We're going to do better, Dr. Chen continued. We're implementing new policies immediately, and we'd like to work with you and your wife, if you're willing, to help shape those policies. You shouldn't have had to go through this. But since you did, we want to make sure your experience leads to meaningful change. Angela spoke up. What about the other patients? The 17 other people who were mistreated? We're reaching out to all of them, Dr. Chen said. We're reviewing their cases to make sure they're receiving proper care now. And we're offering them the same opportunity to be part of this process. Over the next few days, Marcus began to understand the full scope of what had happened. Sarah Chen's post had sparked a national conversation about racism in healthcare. Medical journals published articles. News programs did special reports. Doctors and nurses across the country shared their own stories of witnessing or experiencing discrimination in medical settings. Sarah herself came to visit Marcus. She looked exhausted but relieved. "Thank you," Marcus said when she walked in. "You saved my life," Sarah shook her head. "You saved your own life by advocating for yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. You did more than that. You risked your career to do the right thing." "I almost didn't," Sarah admitted. She sat down, and Angela offered her some water from the pitcher by Marcus's bed. "I stood in that exam room and I heard everything Dr. Brennan said, and I was frozen. I was so scared of what might happen if I spoke up. It wasn't until after you left that I realized I had to do something." "But you did do something," Angela said. "That's what matters." Sarah smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I just keep thinking about how many times I didn't say anything. How many times I watched doctors dismiss patients or treat them badly, and I stayed quiet because I was just a student." "You're not just a student," Marcus said firmly. "You're going to be a doctor, and you're going to be a good one, because you care about doing the right thing, even when it's hard." On the day Marcus was finally discharged from the hospital, a week and a half after his first visit, something unexpected happened. As Angela was helping him pack his things, there was a knock on the door. "Come in," Marcus called. The door opened and 3 people walked in. 2 were middle-aged black women. One was a Latino man in his 60s. They looked nervous but determined. "Mr. Williams," one of the women said, "we hope it's okay that we came. We're 3 of the patients who were mistreated by Dr. Brennan. We read about your story in the news. We wanted to thank you for speaking up." Marcus was surprised. "You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad he can't hurt anyone else. But we do need to thank you," the man said. "I had symptoms of a stroke last year. Dr. Brennan told me I was stressed and prescribed me anxiety medication. 2 days later, I had a major stroke. I lost movement in my left side for months. I'm still doing physical therapy." The other woman spoke up. "I had breast cancer. I found a lump and went to Dr. Brennan. He told me I was overweight and the lump was probably just fatty tissue. He didn't order any tests. By the time I saw another doctor 6 months later, the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes." Marcus felt his eyes fill with tears. "I'm so sorry. That's terrible." "We're all okay now thanks to other doctors," the first woman said. "But we stayed quiet. We didn't report him. We were scared, or we didn't think anyone would believe us, or we just wanted to move on. You spoke up. You and that medical student, and because you did, his license is gone. He can't hurt anyone else." The 4 patients talked for a while, sharing their stories. Angela listened, sometimes crying, sometimes angry. By the time they left, Marcus felt both heartbroken and hopeful. Heartbroken for all the people who had suffered unnecessarily. Hopeful because maybe, just maybe, things would be different now. 2 weeks later, Marcus went back to teaching. His students cheered when he walked into his classroom. They had decorated the room with welcome back signs. Marcus felt his chest tighten, but this time it was with emotion, not heart problems. "I missed you guys," he said. "We missed you too, Mr. Williams," one of his students said. "We saw you on the news." "You're famous," Marcus laughed. "I don't know about famous, but I do want to talk to you all about something important." He spent that class period talking to his students about advocating for themselves, about recognizing when something is wrong and having the courage to speak up, about not accepting poor treatment from anyone, including doctors. "Your health matters. Your life matters. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise," he said. 1 month after his hospitalization, Marcus and Angela were invited to a town hall meeting at Riverside Medical Center. The auditorium was packed with hospital staff, patients, community members, and reporters. Dr. Chen stood at the podium. "We are here today to discuss the changes we are implementing at this hospital to ensure that what happened to Marcus Williams never happens again," he began. He outlined the new policies: mandatory implicit bias training for all staff, a new patient advocacy system, regular audits of physician performance, and a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind. Then he invited Marcus to speak. Marcus walked to the podium, his hands shaking slightly. Angela squeezed his hand before he went up. He looked out at the crowd of faces, Some sympathetic, some curious, some skeptical. A month ago, I came to this hospital thinking I would get help, Marcus began. Instead, I was dismissed, mocked, and sent home. I could have died. But I didn't, because one medical student had the courage to speak up, because one doctor took my symptoms seriously, and because I decided to advocate for myself instead of accepting poor treatment. He paused, looking at the crowd. I'm not telling this story to shame anyone or to get revenge. I'm telling it because it's not just my story. It's the story of too many people of color who go to doctors and aren't believed. It's the story of people who die from treatable conditions because someone made assumptions about them based on their skin color. The room was completely silent. But it's also a story of hope, Marcus continued. Because things can change. They are changing. This hospital is changing, and I believe that change will spread. My students ask me all the time if it's worth it to speak up when you see injustice. They ask if one person can really make a difference. I tell them yes, because I've seen it.
One medical student speaking up saved my life.
And now, because of what happened to me and others like me, real change is happening. When Marcus finished speaking, the auditorium erupted in applause. People stood up. Some were crying. Sarah Chen, sitting in the front row, was wiping her eyes. After the meeting, several reporters wanted to interview Marcus. He agreed to talk to a few of them. One reporter asked him, "Are you angry at Dr. Brennan?" Marcus thought about it. I was angry at first. Very angry. But now I just feel sad. Sad that his prejudices led him to hurt people. Sad that it took 17 victims before he was stopped. But I'm not going to let anger consume me. I'm going to focus on being grateful I'm alive and on helping make sure this doesn't happen to others. 6 months later, the state medical board held its final hearing on Dr. Brennan's case. Marcus and Angela were there. So was Sarah Chen, now in her 3rd year of medical school and already known as a passionate advocate for patient rights. The board presented its findings. 32 cases of medical negligence, clear patterns of discriminatory behavior, and multiple instances of failing to meet the standard of care. The vote was unanimous. Dr. Richard Brennan's medical license was permanently revoked. He would never practice medicine again. As Marcus walked out of the hearing room, a journalist asked him how he felt. "I feel like justice was served," Marcus said. "But more importantly, I feel hopeful. Because this isn't just about one bad doctor losing his license. It's about a system that's starting to acknowledge its problems and do better. That's what real change looks like." Marcus went back to his life, teaching history, coaching debate, spending time with Angela and his children. But he also became an advocate. He spoke at medical schools about his experience. He worked with the hospital's patient advocacy board. He shared his story whenever someone asked, hoping it would help others find the courage to speak up. And every day, when he woke up and felt his heart beating strong and steady in his chest, he remembered that he was alive because he refused to accept poor treatment, because a medical student found the courage to speak up, because a doctor took him seriously, and because sometimes, even in the darkest moments, there are people who do the right thing.